Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, where today I think we should have quite an interesting puzzle for you. This puzzle has been specially designed for us by Sam Cappleman-Lynes, who watched a video that I recorded a few days ago that sort of had two X-wings as the key to the solution. And Sam apparently wondered as a result of that how many X-wings it would be possible to put into a puzzle. So he's created this, which he says contains no technique more difficult than an X-wing, but it contains lots and lots of X-wings. So I thought, well, A, it'd be quite interesting to have a go, but B, should be a superb puzzle if you're relatively new to the X-wing technique for practicing spotting X-wings. We often get that as a question, you know, of sort of once people have learnt the logic of the X-wing, how do you actually go about spotting them? Well, I guess my answer to that would be practice, and it sounds like this puzzle is going to be ideal for getting that practice. If you want to have a go at the puzzle before you watch me solve it, then do click on the link under the video, and that'll take you to our software and you can have a go. Now, let's start then. How would we do this? Well, I can put a 1 in. Let's do that. 1. That's got to be a 1. That's got to be a 1. That's got to be a 1. And that's got to be a 1. Okay, so no X-wings yet, just positioning 1s. Those two squares have got to be a 2. Those two squares have got to be a 3. One of those two squares has to be a 3 because of the 3's like that. One of those two squares has to be a 3 because of those two 3's. And therefore that's got to be a 3 because of the 3 over in the middle box there. So put a 3 in. That's got to be a 3 now because of this 3. That's got to be a 3. So we've now got 7 3's in the grid. You can see this arrangement. We can't crack that yet. Hang on, 4's and 8's here in the bottom. So yeah, okay, 8's, look, that's got to be an 8. That's got to be a 4, therefore. Fours into one of these two squares because of these two 4's. 4's into one of those two squares. 5's into one of those two squares because of these 5's. Okay. 8's we can maybe do some more. Yes, we can. 8's, these two 8's, we can pencil more 8's there. 8's here. 8 into one of these two squares because of this 8 and this 8. Only got 1 9 in the grid. Only got 1 7 in the grid. Let's take a look at this column. We've got 6 digits in it, so we need 6, 7 and 9. It can only be a 7 or a 9. That can only be a 6 or a 9. Okay, suppose one thing I'm noticing there, by the way, with a view to X-wings or any of the more complicated techniques, we now have a situation where if we look at this column, the 7's are limited to those squares only, and the 6's are limited to those squares only. So we have sort of base conditions for X-wings on 6's and 7's here. I'm certainly going to check that if I can't make any more progress looking at sort of rows and columns with a number of digits in. Let's try this row. We've got 5 digits in this one. So 2, 3, 5 and 9. So that one can only be a 5 or a 9. That one can only be a 2 or a 5. Let's check column 1 where we need 2, 4, 7 and 9. So that one can only be a 7 or a 9. You can see I'm trying to highlight pairs, by the way, rather than cells that can be, you know, a multitude of digits. Check this column as well. So here we need 5, 6, 7, 9. It's not looking great, is it? Let's come back to this column. So you can see the 7s are limited to those two positions. So we've got the base condition for an X-wing on 7s if we can find another column where the 7s are limited to exactly two positions in these same rows. So row 3 and row 4. In fact, this isn't going to work, is it? Because we've got rather a dearth of 7s. Okay, so 7s, that's not going to work. Let's try 6s instead. 6 is limited to those two positions. So again, now we're looking for 6s limited to exactly these two squares. Nearly. Yes, yeah, okay, there you go. So there's our first X-wing. 6s. If we look down column 3 here, the 6 can go here, but it can't go in either of those two squares because of this 6, and it can't go here because of this 6. So we found an X-wing on 6s, and now we have to think about what this means. So a quick reminder, as we know the 6 in column 9 is in one of these two squares, let's just imagine we looked at the finished solution and the 6 was here. The implication of that would be for column 3, the 6 would have to be down there, because we know the 6 is limited to exactly two positions in column 3. So we'd have a 6 here and a 6 here. Now if, on the other hand, this was the 6 in the finished grid when we looked at it, then looking at column 3, the 6 would have to be here. And this forms the base of the sort of X-wing description, because these 6s lie on the corners of an X. But critically, we know that there's either a 6 here, therefore, or a 6 here. And there's either a 6 here or a 6 here in the finished grid, and therefore there is no 6 in any of those yellow squares. So our challenge now is to see how that tells us anything about the solution. Yes, now look at this 6. Now can you see if there's no 6 in either of these squares, there can't be a 6 in either of these two squares because of this 6 here. So where can I put a 6 in box 2? Only there. So that's our first digit as a result of an X-wing. Now that gives us a 6 here as well. Pencil mark 6 is there. Okay, now I spotted something else. Now let's come back to this. Let's get rid of the highlighting on 6s. Now at the start I looked at those two squares as being a possible candidate for X-wing on 7s, and I said no, it's not going to work because we've only got one 7 in the grid. Well, I was right at the time, but now this 6 is in column 4. All of a sudden, column 4, where can we put the 7? Well, what do you know? Exactly those two positions. So we've now got an X-wing on 7s as well. So, applying the same logic, there can't be 7s in any of those squares. So what does that mean? Well, it means that the 7 in this box is locked into the top, this sort of top 2x2 up there. Let's have a look at these two squares. So this square, if it can't contain a 7, can be 2, 4, I think it can be a 5, can't be a 6, can't be a 7, can't be an 8, can't be a 9, so it's quite restricted but not very restricted. This one, well, this one also sees a 4, so that this one's a 2 or a 5. 2, 5. Okay, yeah, there you go, 2, 5. Okay, so we've now, the X-wing gives us a 2, 5 pair in column 3. And that sees this 2, which we pencil mark, so this can no longer be a 2. That means that square's got to be a 2. That means I suppose that square is not a 2. Let's check the rest of this column now, because we've got effectively 6 digits in it. We still need a 6, 7 and an 8. So this can be 6, 7 or 8, I think. Oh no, it can't be a 7 because of the X-wing. This can only be a 6 or an 8. This one can only be a 7 or an 8. And this, that one can only be a 6 or a 7. So again, we've got possibilities for X-wings down here. In fact, column 3, there's all sorts of possibilities for X-wings, because because the 2 and the 5 are limited to exactly 2 positions in this column. Let's just take a look at that. So if we look down here, if we know the 2s and the 5s are limited to exactly 2 positions in column 3, is there another column where the 2 or the 5 is limited to exactly those? Yeah, okay, so these 2 squares now, let's highlight those. Where can 5s go in column 3 and column 4? Only in the blue squares. So this is an X-wing on 5s. And look, that means this square has to be a 4. Because it can't be a 5 anymore because of the X-wing. I think this is our 3rd X-wing that we've found. So 4 here. So that's a 4 now. And that's a 4 now. Oh, hang on. And we've got 6 and an 8 here. So that square's got to be a 6 or an 8. So this is a 7 or a 9. Just to pair it up with this one. 6, 8, 2, 5. Can't see how the 2s. There doesn't seem to be another column where the 2s are limited to the same positions here, so I'm wondering whether we need to turn our attention elsewhere here. We've got 5 digits now here, so 6, 7, 8, 9. So the 6s are limited to those 2 squares. But the 6 is down here. You can see if we look at row 9, the 6 can, I think, go either there or there. So I'm not sure I'm seeing an X-wing there. Oh, I'm being... Yes, I am. Interesting. Okay. So I was very focused on looking at the 2s in the column because, of course, they were limited here. But if we look at the row, look at this row, and ask where a 2 can go, it can... I'm going to get rid of the highlighting actually first in those 2 squares. So where can a 2 go along row 4? It can only go in this square. And this square, obviously, it can't go here. And look down here in this row. This 2 stops it going there. And this square can't take a 2 because of that square. So there's a 2's X-wing in the rows this time. And what does that do? Well, that means we can eliminate 2's from the columns. Now, the only square that's affecting is this one. Okay, but that is important because if there can't be a 2 here, where can we put a 2 in row 9 of the grid? Can't go here because of this 2. We'd already eliminated it from here because of the 2-5 pair. It can't go here because of the X-wing. It can go here, and it can't go here because there's a 2 in the column. So that square is a 2. And I don't know which number. Okay, now this is cool because now we've got 2's here. So there's a 2 in one of those 2 squares. You can see that the 2 and the 4 match up here. So we can't put a 6 in here because the implication of that would be I'd need to put a 2 and a 4 into that square. So this square is not a 6, so this square is a 6. That must be a 6 or a 9. That's a 6 or that's a 6. This must be a 7 or a 9. Make that a bit clearer so that it looks like a 2 or a 4. So if this is a 6 or a 9 now because of the column. Aha, okay, and there's another X-wing. So these two squares are the only positions that 9s can go into in column 7. And look, if we go across to row or column 1 of the grid, the 9s are limited. Because of this 9 here, this can't be a 9. So again, we've got another X-wing. Lost track of this. Is that 5 or on 9s? Now, does this one matter? Now, it's an X-wing on the columns, and that means we eliminate in the rows. So there's no 9 in any of these squares. So what can this, if this can't be a 9, this can only be a 5 or a 7. Oh, oh, this is very beautiful, but it's the sting in the tail. Look at this. Look at this. Now, because this can't be a 9, these two squares can be 9s in column 8. So let's watch colour. I'll make them green. So have a look at this grid now and see if you can spot another X-wing on 9s using the fact that these two squares are limited. And I think if we look at column 6 here and ask where a 9 can go, this can be a 9. This cannot be a 9 here because of the X-wing on 9s. So there can be a 9 here, not here. This can be a 9. This can't be a 9 because of this 9 here. And this one can't be a 9 because of the red X-wing. So the X-wing is eliminating 2 9s from column 6. So I can make these squares green. And we get another X-wing, this time on 9s, but in this position. And it's an X-wing again on the columns, so I eliminate in the rows. So the 9s are going to get really restricted. Ah, yeah, okay, well that one can't. In fact, let's just look at this square. That's going to be the easiest way to look. So because of this green X-wing, this square cannot be a 9. So that's a 7. Now that means down here, 7 can either be here or here. And down at the bottom, a 7 can either be here or here. And of course this square can only be a 9 now. And obviously this is part of an X-wing on 9s, so it's going to give us a 6 here and a 9 here. That gives us a 6 here. Okay, there's quite a lot going on now. So this 6 means that this is an 8 and this is a 6, which means that this is an 8, looking at the earlier pencil marking, which means this is an 8. This is a 5 or a 9. This is a 5 or a 9. This square is 5 or 7. This square is 7 or 9. this square is 7 or 9. There's all sorts of pairs going on all around this grid. My phone's buzzing at me. Let me just try and get a bit further in this before I lose my train of thought. Must be a 2. This must be a 2 or a 7. This must be a 2 or a 7, I think. I'm just wondering whether I need to be re-looking at any of these earlier X-wings. Obviously I can see that by uniqueness. No, I was about to say something wrong there. I'm not going to get that wrong. I was about to argue uniqueness would have eliminated the possibility of this square being a 7 or a 9. That's a mistake I've made before. You can't use uniqueness when those 4 cells are in 4 different boxes. Easy mistake to make, so try not to make it. Now, okay, so what is the next step? Do I need another X-wing? Or this 6 here sees that square, so no, maybe not. No, definitely not. That gives me an 8 here as well. So this is not an 8. Must be a 7 in one of those 2 squares. This square here can only be a 2, 5 or a 7 looking at the box, but there's already a 2 and a 7 in the column, so this square has to be a 5. So this is a 2, that's a 5 down there, this is a 7, this is a 2, and maybe we're on the final stretch now, so that's a 2 and that's a 3. My phone's buzzing at me, stop. Don't make a mistake in my haste to finish this. 6 here, that must be a 9, that means this is 7, 5, 9, 5, 7, 9, 7, 9. This should be a 4, 4, 2. Now I need a 5 in one of these squares, so 5, 7 like that. This should be 7. What a puzzle this is. Come on, Simon. And then I need 5 and 9. This is going to work, I think, into those squares. Check. Yeah, we're done. Fantastic. Fantastic. I have lost count of the number of X-wings. This is a puzzle I would advise everyone to revisit from time to time, just to practice spotting X-wings, because what brilliant, brilliant practice. And in terms of cleverness to create a puzzle like that, Sam, I take my hat off to you, my friend. That is very, very clever indeed. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider subscribing if you're not already subscribers. We really appreciate it. Back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.